2015 as part of the election cycle. All members of council should have the experience of being on as many boards as possible during their terms of office, not just having the same members repeat the same board assignments. These are not permanent board assignments. By rotating the council board assignments, will bring more experience, more depth, a stronger council, and more informed body on how individual boards operate. When an issue comes before the council, we have a majority of the body to be able to handle the issues, or someone from the council fill in for someone who cannot make the board meetings. I tried to be fair with everyone by passing workload evenly throughout the council, for certain members not carrying more of the workload than others. The workload on board assignment is the lightest it's ever been. I did this in order to give council members more time to handle their legislative duties. If a member of the council feels I have not evenly passed the workload throughout the council, then please point it out to me. The boards like the sewer, the Heber Light and Power Board, the Economic Development Board, our boards are more favorable among members of council to want to be on. I give each council member one of these boards to make it fair to everyone. I base my appointments around these boards because they are boards that pay out money and require time. There are 5 of you and there are 5 paying boards. These allow each of you to be a contributing member of the compensation board. As written in the state and federal laws, there is separation of powers of the legislative and executive branch of the city. City council is the legislative body, the mayor's position is the executive part. David Church made a clear statement on this issue. He says, all council have the right to give advice and consent to appoint members of the mayor. Advice and consent does not mean the council get to choose whom they want for a position with the city. The power of appointment is executive power. There is no provision or method in law for council to take upon itself the power of this appointment. End quote. David Church's statement is very clear enough to understand who makes appointments, and who decides who the person is, and who is to fill the position. The mayor's appointment of council members to certain boards is part of the mayor's duties, and the city's council members' duty to fill those board assignments as part of their service to the public. With that in mind, and review how I put the boards together, I'd like to go through the first, I'll focus up into certain blocks so we can maybe look at it as a council and see what we'd like to do on it. I'd like to recommend the council on the Heber Valley Sewer District for Robert Patterson and Eric Rowland to fill those positions on that. And with the Economic Development Board, Jeff Bradshaw will take that position. Personnel Committee, which is City Board, Heidi Franco, Colleen Potter will take those positions. Historic Preservation Board, with Jeff Bradshaw. On the Wasatch Irrigation Board, I'd like to have Eric Rowland, Councilman Rowland in that position. On the Daniel Irrigation Board, with Robert Patterson on that position, both city sheriffs. On the Weed Board, the Rita County Board, Jeff Bradshaw, and the Animal Control Board, with Colleen Potter. If those board assignments in there, does anyone feel that you cannot serve or feel like that any of those board positions in that group needs to be changed around among the council? If the council feels comfortable with that, I'd like to enter a motion to be able to approve the board assignments as listed.
Mayor, can I just make one comment? There are more irrigation boards. Listed, there's Tim and there's Wasatch Extension. We specifically asked Eric to go to Wasatch and Tank and probably on the game.
Maybe between the two of them, if they work it out. I know that here at Wasatch Irrigation, the city, what they have a seat on that board. And what they've done that has allowed it to where the city owns about 38% of the shares of the irrigation company. And the bylaw, if you put those in place, the city automatically will put a city council member on that board. So that's a seat that the council automatically has. On that board doesn't meet that often. They had a meeting last Saturday, but they do meet periodically in between to talk about board decision discussion. There's a few issues that the city needs to bring before that board. We need to resolve with that too. But the Daniel had one the other night, and there's an issue that Heidi was there.
Oh, yes.
I think it lasts about 3 hours, didn't it?
10.
Okay. So they can consume some time on that, but these other irrigation boards, I'm listening to between the two of these, we can look at, you can have time and maybe fill in those positions. We're not really on the board, but I'm sure the irrigation and the rest of it's just attending voting city shares. we have for education. Any other questions or thoughts? That being so, I appreciate council's consent to be able to accept these board assignments as I've read them off there.
I move that we accept these board assignments as detailed by the mayor.
Do I have a second on the
I'll
motion?
second.
Second, Councilman Bradshaw. Any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Council. I appreciate your support on that. On the Heber Light and Power Board, is the chairman of Heber Light and Power. Council asked for legal advice on that, on the decision to follow the bylaws of Heber Light and Power, which gives the chairman of Heber Light and Power authority to appoint 2 members from the city council to do so. I'd like our city attorney just to address that for a minute on that legal issue, verify the correctness of that.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I've tried to talk to all the individual council members. It's my opinion after we went and I've reviewed it, I've looked both at the bylaws, the amended bylaws, the Heber City Code, and then the state code. And the mayor, in my opinion, has the right to appoint. They have to be 2 council members, but he has the power to appoint to serve at his pleasure and not necessarily needing the consent of the council. Always good to seek it, but he has the power as the chairman to appoint. Are there any questions as to how I came to that opinion, or I kind of detailed as I've talked with you? That's my opinion, Mayor.
Thank you. For the council's information, I, Franco, and Wayne Potter to accept those positions to be on Heber Light and Power Board, so we will fill those positions, the 2 directors on that board.
I'd ask you a question.
Sure.
Like this. Why don't you feel like you need to buy some consent to city council? I don't care what, it's been tradition. Our city code says all boards and committees.
Well, I'll listen in. Okay.
I just don't understand it.
Well, as far as, I'm fine.
Everybody's buying consent.
No, I understand that his position of the board, I didn't write the bylaws. Bylaws were written 2 years ago. I followed what the bylaws said with that. If the council would like to, then I'd like to consent. If you want to, I propose the council then at this time that I ask for your consent to be able to allow Heidi Franco and Queen Potter to be the representatives of Heber City on the Heber Light and Power Board. If you want to do that, entertain a motion for your consent to do so. There's no motion to accept him.
So moved.
I have a first, I have a second. There's no second on that, so not the motion's lost, but also no consent. I still proceed as the chair of the Heber Light and Power, have these 2 council persons be on that board. On the next list, we have the airport board. These are citizens I'd like to look into. I know the council mentioned last time we made a change in the structure of that board a little bit, but I would like to propose these 3 names before the council if they would like to give their consent to be able to allow these gentlemen to be on the airport board. One would be Mike Duggan, Kelly Jarvis, and Dave Hanson. Before I seek the motion, I'd like just to have discussion among the council if you can support these gentlemen and any reasons why they would not support any of them.
Point of clarification, just to make sure, if memory serves, our last council meeting, we already did address this, correct, as far as the appointments to the board?
We didn't particularly address it. We talked about Dave Hanson, but I make mention I wouldn't put him on until we came to conclusion what we wanted to do. That if the council wants to change the structure of that board, I think you're going to have to go through the bylaw process. Let's go to the airport board first, and then they'll submit those changes into the city attorney. He then turns it back to the airport advisory board, and the Airport Advisory Board and bring it back to council for final approval.
Right.
So that's the process. If you want to change the board, then the structure of that board, then the council will have to determine if they want to.
Right, and I believe we already, just as memory serves again, we made that motion last council meeting to initiate that process through Jeff's motion to turn it over to the airport board, is that correct?
My conclusion wasn't that was it, but that's what the council had to propose a motion that we.
Mark, as a point of clarification, is that what we, wasn't that the motion we passed?
My understanding was the council did make a motion in a second to appoint Dave Hanson. And so we've actually prepared a packet to send out to him on the airport board for next week.
That was my understanding as well.
I know Alan said something. With regard to Jeff's motion, it was something to the effect that he would recommend that there be a voting and non-voting member on the council, and that the airport bylaws be changed to that effect.
Well, I believe it was a recommendation to take it to the airport advisory board with the recommendation to make a voting and non-voting member. But no idea to take it to the advisory board.
I think it wasn't that clear. It should be in our minutes.
I was going to say.
It is.
So,
I'm wondering, because just as a point of efficiency, if we've already addressed this, I prefer that we not try and do this again if we've already taken care of it. As a matter of fact, we've already prepped the airport board agenda for our next meeting to begin discussion of the change of the bylaws, so it's already on the agenda, it's prepared.
so with the airport board, then what I suggested that I'd also like to look at the airport board, look at the constitution of the board itself, read the bylaws. There's been some questions on some members being on the board, some members not being eligible to be on the board. Maybe discuss that with them, clarify what that's going on at that board.
Yeah, the discussion as proposed has been to, there's been a proposed composition, and then that composition will be discussed as a board, and then we'll come forward with that information.
The only other question I have on that, I looked at the terms on that, and you were first councilman rolling on the board as a citizen, and on the sheet I had in front of me, that term expired in 2012. And I was looking back into the agenda items in the past on that, and I could not find where Councilman Rowland's name was submitted back to the council as to be appointed on that board after 2012. There's also made mention that Mayor Phillips mentioned maybe taking Councilman Rowland off the board, but I could find the official document stating Councilman Rowland to be restated back on that board, and then
My understanding was, the statement was that I would stay on the board, and there was a discussion on this until a replacement could be made. And to my knowledge, no replacement was there.
I just want to make sure that it was officially on the documents, to make sure that that was done correctly, maybe to find out if Councilman Rowland's still not, clarify that. If he is, then that would be fine, but I'd like that clarification on that. The document I had, that's the term expired, and we want to make sure that our active members have their appointments back on. So the recommendation will go back into the airport advisory board and change the bylaws.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay, then on the next item we have the historic preservation board. I was informed by former chair Michael Moulton that if Michael Moulton and Moulton's terms expired, it's a 2-year term. They'd like to suggest Mike Johnson and Laurie Turnbaum to be 2 more members on that board, and then Councilman Bradshaw would be part of that board also. Steve Olson has kind of asked to kind of retire off that little board a little bit. I'd like maybe, I don't know, my name's to the bylaw ballot, but at least have a meeting Mahler or somebody can call him to help fill in that board. And he's already been on the board, we'd like to not spend as much time.
So the Moultons won't be on the board?
The Moultons will be, they want back on.
They are?
Yeah, those 4 names all want. The 2 Moultons are, you just restate with 2-year terms, Mike Johnson, Laurie Turnbaum are 2 new members to that board.
The council previously appointed the council to December for that other spot.
So his term's still active.
So is Mr. Bradshaw going to be on the board or not?
Yeah, he is on the board.
Oh,
alternate, Steve Olson, to be on the Historic Preservation